into session and the Parliament over the issue of demonetisation. There is no end to the war of words among parliamentarians, be it the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. The lower house, as we know, got adjourned within 3 minutes of reconvening for the day. Precious 3 days are left, out of which we've already lost the first few hours because of the ruckus that continues to plague the lower house as well as the upper house. Whether or not we will see business transact and a fruitful debate on demonetisation remains to be seen. For now, let's go across to my colleague, Madhav, joining us live from Vijay Chowk. Madhav, assurances came in from the government that the Prime Minister will be present in the houses of the Parliament. What are we expecting to unfold at 12 this afternoon in the Lok Sabha? As soon as the lower house convened for the day, we saw it was adjourned within 3 minutes. Are we expecting anything fruitful to really happen from 12 noon over there?
Well, that would really depend on actually what has transpired between 11 and 12, given the fact that both sides, of course, have not arrived at consensus on really who will begin the entire discussion. We do understand that there has been climbed on from both sides, but does this mean that the discussion will necessarily begin? That at this point of time does not seem so. We saw at 11 o'clock that there was a ruckus in the House and how the House proceedings were adjourned. In the Rajya Sabha, of course, a different story with, in fact, the members agreeing to come together for the passage of that particular bill over there as far as the rights of disabled are concerned. And the big question is, though, that at this point of time, though both sides want to see that the message is sent out that they were cooperative and wanted the House to function, but it's the other side who was responsible for the House not functioning. How in this sort of game of one-upmanship will, in fact, the House function, and can it function is the big question. Because at this point of time, what is important, what is significant, is to really see that whatever issues are that are put aside. We've seen people like the leader of the tall leader of the NDA, L.K. Advani, come out. We've seen the president, no less, come out and say that the House should function. Parliamentarians must fulfill their duty. There is no serious attempt on part of the government to ensure that the House is functioning, and also on part of the opposition, because it's not only the government's duty, the opposition too is very much part of the House and should also play a responsible role. So really, of course, from both sides, this criticism coming in the public domain has meant that there was a fresh attempt to try and seek some kind of middle ground. The opposition ready to under discussion with no rule being used, and really, of course, hoping that they would be able to get a chance to put it on the floor of the House, what their reservations are, what their questions to the government are. Because we must remember, it's quite one thing to protest outside the House. Inside the House, when the debate does happen, it has a lot more gravity, a lot more impact. And that's really the importance of what is taking place at this point of time. We do understand the government and the opposition have been having several rounds of negotiations. So really, of course, will be significant to see what would take place at this point of time.
Okay.
Given the fact that as far as the government and opposition are concerned, the main sticking point appears to be who will lead the debate. The government has proposed the name of Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, whereas the opposition wants to have the first go. So while the opposition camp also has been thinking about how it wants its own leaders to be projected vis-a-vis this entire debate, will the discussion take place really in the House in this kind of an acrimonious atmosphere, or will we just see a repeat of the kind of disruption that took place at 11 o'clock once the House reconvenes at 12?
Okay, stay with us, Madhav. We'll take a quick listen into that short input came in from Rahul Gandhi while he was entering the Parliament.
मैं तो बोलने के लिए ही आया हूँ। अब देखते हैं सरकार अलाउ करती है या नहीं। मैं तो बोलने के लिए ही आया हूँ। अब देखते हैं सरकार अलाउ करती है या नहीं।
Okay, so that was Rahul Gandhi there saying that he's come to speak in the Parliament, but he'll have to wait and watch if the government allows him to speak in the Parliament or not. Madhav, if I can come back to you and understand, do you see at least the opposition being on the same page? Because there were initial hurdles of different demands that continue to come in from the opposition as well over the issue of demonetisation. Now, do you believe they're actually speaking in one voice? Because even this morning, you see, we saw D. Raja come out and say that they wanted a JPC into the probe. We've had the Congress blame the government, saying that this is nothing more than a scam in the form of demonetisation. So what exactly does the opposition demand, and how will this really move forward? We have to wait and watch as and when the Parliament reconvenes at 12 this afternoon. Meanwhile,